What if I told you that the brain you have right now, at 65, at 70, even at 80, is not the brain you're stuck with? What if the forgetfulness, the brain fog, the moments where you walk into a room and completely forget why you went there, what if those weren't signs of inevitable decline? What if they were simply signs of a brain that hasn't been given what it needs? I know that sounds bold. Yeah, maybe even a little too good to be true. And honestly, I completely understand if you're skeptical. Because for decades, we were all taught the same thing. We were told that after a certain age, the brain slows down, neurons die off, and there is simply nothing you can do about it. But here's what's changing. In 2025 and 2026, researchers at Harvard Medical School, the Mayo Clinic, and the Buck Institute for Research on Aging have published findings that are quietly rewriting everything we thought we knew about the aging brain. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you will have a clear, science-backed roadmap for what you can actually do about it. This is the Longevity Report, and today we are talking about your brain. Before we go any further, a quick but important note. Everything I share today is grounded in peer-reviewed research from institutions like Harvard, Stanford, and the National Institute on Aging. This video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for the advice of your personal physician. Always consult your doctor before making changes to your health routine. Now, let's get into it. For most of the 20th century, the scientific community believed something called the fixed brain theory. The idea was simple and honestly pretty grim. Scientists believed that you are born with a set number of brain cells, and from early adulthood onward, those neurons only die. They never regenerate. They never come back. That belief shaped everything. It shaped how doctors spoke to older patients. It gave us phrases like senior moments. It's just your age, or what do you expect at 75? But then something happened. In the late 1990s, a researcher named Dr. Elizabeth Gould at Princeton University discovered evidence of neurogenesis, brand new neuron growth in adult brains. The scientific community pushed back hard, but the evidence kept coming, and by the mid-2000s, the consensus had, quietly, almost reluctantly, shifted. The brain can grow new neurons at any age. The term for this is neuroplasticity. Think of your brain not as a stone sculpture, fixed and unchanging, but as a living garden, one that can grow new connections, prune old ones, and, with the right conditions, actually flourish in its 7th, 8th, or 9th decade of life. And a landmark 2025 study published in Nature Aging confirmed something extraordinary. In adults who maintained specific lifestyle habits, the hippocampus, your brain's memory center, roughly the size of your thumb, actually increased in volume. It grew. In people over the age of 65, the memory center of the brain grew larger. In older adults who followed specific daily habits. So what were those habits? We're going to get there. But first, let's understand why so many of us feel like our brains are slipping. Here is what most doctors simply don't have time to explain. Most of what we call normal cognitive decline is not inevitable. It is driven by 4 specific, correctable factors. The first is chronic neuroinflammation. Inflammation is your body's natural defense. Short-term, it's necessary. But when it becomes chronic and low-grade, it silently interferes with communication between neurons, like static on a telephone line. A 2026 study from the Buck Institute found that chronic neuroinflammation is present in over 70% of adults over 65 who report cognitive symptoms. The primary drivers are ultra-processed foods, refined sugar, chronic stress, and poor sleep. The second factor is mitochondrial decline. Your mitochondria are the tiny power generators inside every cell. They convert food into the actual fuel your brain runs on. As we age, they become less efficient, and your brain feels that energy shortage acutely. Brain fog, mental fatigue, difficulty concentrating, these are very often mitochondrial symptoms. The third factor is the cortisol flood. Cortisol is your stress hormone, life-saving in short bursts, but destructive when it stays elevated for weeks and months. A 2025 Harvard study found that adults over 60 with chronically elevated cortisol showed measurably smaller hippocampal volume than their peers. Chronic stress physically shrinks your memory center. And the fourth factor is social isolation. A 2026 review in The Lancet found that social isolation is associated with a 50% increased risk of developing dementia. Loneliness is not just an emotional problem, it is a neurological one, and it deserves to be taken just as seriously as diet or exercise. Now, here is what actually works: 5 pillars. Together, they form what researchers are calling a cognitive resilience protocol. Pillar 1 is resistance training. When you do resistance exercise, weights, bands, even simple chair squats, your muscles release a protein called BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Scientists have nicknamed it miracle grow for the brain, and that is genuinely accurate. BDNF directly stimulates new neuron growth, particularly in the hippocampus. A 2025 meta-analysis in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that adults over 65 who did resistance training just twice a week for 6 months showed significant improvements in memory, executive function, and processing speed. 20 minutes, twice a week. That is a legitimate starting point. Pillar 2 is the Mediterranean Mind Diet. A 2025 study from Rush University Medical Center found that adults who followed this diet closely had brains that appeared, on MRI scans, approximately 7.5 years younger than those who didn't. The focus is simple: leafy greens at least 6 times a week, blueberries, nuts, olive oil, fish once a week, beans and whole grains. Pull back on ultra-processed foods, excess red meat, and refined sugar. Pillar 3 is sleep. While you sleep, your brain activates what researchers call the glymphatic system, your brain's overnight cleaning crew. It flushes out beta amyloid and other harmful waste, but only during deep sleep. A 2026 UC Berkeley study found that adults over 65 sleeping less than 6 hours per night accumulated significantly more of this waste than those sleeping 7 to 8 hours. Sleep is not laziness. Sleep is biological maintenance for your most important organ. Pillar 4 is stress regulation. Diaphragmatic breathing for 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes of mindfulness meditation, and regular time in nature have all been shown to measurably lower cortisol and protect hippocampal volume. You don't need an expensive app, you need consistency. And Pillar 5 is social fitness. Researchers at the University of Michigan found in 2026 that seniors with high levels of purposeful social engagement showed a 32% lower rate of cognitive decline over 10 years. Join a club, volunteer, call a friend, and really talk, not just to check in, but to genuinely connect. Your brain is counting on you. Let's also clear up 3 myths quickly. Myth 1. Brain games are the best protection against cognitive decline. Physical exercise produces far stronger, far more measurable brain benefits than puzzles alone. Do both, but put your walking shoes on first. Myth 2. Memory loss is just a normal part of aging and nothing can be done. Significant cognitive decline is strongly tied to lifestyle factors that are within your control starting today. And myth 3. Supplements like ginkgo biloba will protect your brain. A comprehensive 2025 NIH review found little to no evidence that ginkgo biloba or popular nootropic blends produce meaningful cognitive benefits in healthy older adults. Save your money, spend it on better food and a good pair of walking shoes instead. I want to close with this. Behind every study we discussed today, behind every brain scan and every statistic, there are real people who were told The sharpest years of their mental life were behind them. And they decided not to accept that. The research is clear. Your brain, even late in life, retains an extraordinary capacity for growth and renewal. But science alone doesn't change a life. Decisions do. The decision to take a walk this afternoon, the decision to call a friend and really talk tonight, the decision to protect your sleep. These aren't complicated changes. They require intention and a belief that you are worth investing in. You are. If this video helped you today, please share it with someone you care about and hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications,